So the fuel system is basically complete now. Starting with the tank, the outlet is down here. It's got NPT threads, and we used thread sealer on it. Came out to a 90-degree into another fitting, and this is the fuel shutoff. Right now it's open, and that's the closed position. And then into the AN lines and fittings, and the line comes up here, or down this way, sorry, down this way into the first fuel filter. That fuel filter is 100 micron, and you'll see where it says flow, the arrow is pointing this direction. That's the way the fuel is flowing. Flows up into a Holley lift pump. It's a HP 125, and that is able to lift up 18 inches above the fuel tank. So we got plenty of power, plenty of volume. It's just not a high pressure pump. From there, it makes its way out of the fuel pump into the surge tank. And this is mounted to the frame. It's mounted to a plate, and then that plate is mounted to a frame. Nice and secure, I can't move it at all. And this way, with the volume it'll hold, the car leans, it'll never get to this point where where the fuel is not able to flow out. So from the bottom of here, the line will flow out into a high pressure fuel pump. And that's right here below the shutoff valve. In and out, and again the fuel pump is marked in and out. And the electrical lines are down in here, positive and negative. They're insulated so they don't touch the fuel pump itself. Then coming out of the fuel pump, it's another line, and it goes into yet another fuel filter. Again, flow is this way, and an arrow will designate that. It's clamped to the frame. This is a 10 micron, so it'll only allow particles smaller than 10 microns to go through, where the other one was allowing particles under 100 microns to go through, which 100 microns is very small. So 10 microns is minute. And both filter housings can be taken apart and the filter replaced, so you don't have to replace the whole thing. From there, the line runs up behind the fuel pump, and it's just the way it's routed. It's coming up here, and it goes into the fuel pressure regulator. Right now it's at 0 because there's no fuel pressure, and the top, this nut loosens, and then you put an Allen wrench in there and turn it either way to lower or raise the fuel pressure. It has to go in one of these upper ports, doesn't matter which one, and then it exits. Now the pressure is now going to be this engine will take 60 psi constant. Then from there it goes up to the actual fuel rail. The LS engines use a single entrance and no return. So the fuel is just going in there. It's got a crossover coming over, which fills this fuel rail also, and pressurize all 8 of the fuel injectors, which are located right here. Eventually we'll be doing the wiring. You get to see all that wiring there. This is a special fitting that goes on to the LS engines. It just slides on there, and then it pushes over a little lip on there and sticks and cannot come off. So people have had trouble with them, but the reason I think they have trouble with them is because they're not putting them on properly, where you actually takes a good deal of force to pop it over the little flange on this, on the LS fuel rail, but once you get it over that, it's not coming off and it seals perfectly. I've never had an issue with them. And then back to the fuel pressure regulator. On the bottom, the port coming out is the return. So any excess fuel is going to flow down back into your surge tank. So all the fuel is circulating through and returning back into here. This will bleed off the excess pressure. And then if this tank actually starts to get too full, there's the top overflow, which comes out the top of the surge tank, and that will feed back and return back into the fuel tank itself, the main fuel tank. And this other port that's just sitting here now is the vent, and that will run, it's just sitting here loose now, will run down into a evap canister, a charcoal canister, to help with odor control. None of the lines right now are clamped to the frame. That's on the next thing on the list. I'm just going to put some clamps that'll hold it secure so there's no movement. But that's the basic setup of the entire fuel system. So right now, supply power to the fuel pumps, and should be ready to run with fuel.